The days are ticking down in 2024, and it is time to go through the top 10 wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2024. And New Japan in 2024 hasn't been as great as it has in years past. It's lost a lot of its top talent to WWE, to AEW, and a lot of the talent that has remained has sort of aged out of that top bracket position. So, a lot of opportunity for younger wrestlers to step up and grab brass rings that have been left by exodus of talent. So let's see who is able to do it. We're starting at number 10, going all the way up to number 1. We're looking at matches, we're looking at feuds, we're looking at character work, we're looking at those wrestlers who are able to establish unique and powerful connections with the crowd. If you like the video, please consider subscribing. Please consider leaving a like, leaving a comment, as it does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with all that being said, I am Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and let's get into it with our number 10 pick.
So starting at number 10, we have Sonata. Sonata started the year off as the IWGP champion for about 4 days till he lost to Naito at Wrestle Kingdom. And that brought the end of a championship reign that not a lot of people were very high on. They think Sonata just wasn't really the guy to lead the company, even though Ospreay and Okada were leaving. They said Sonata's not really the guy. And that sentiment was sort of continued into 2024, where he was put in the main event scene, but he was never really viewed as the top guy anymore. Good run in the New Japan Cup, leading up to a good run in the G1 Climax, where he had some very good matches. I remember him having a fantastic match against Zack Sabre Jr. And as a result, when Zack won the title at Royal Quest, Sonata got a main event match against Zack for the title, and they had a very good match. So Sonata's just really one of those guys who's been consistently booked at a high position, and more often than not delivers a very good match. Sometimes they're a little bit not even wonky. They're not bad. They're just a little bit boring sometimes. That's what I would say about Sonata. Is he's sometimes a little bit of a boring wrestler, but a lot of times this year he's been given the ball and he has delivered in some big ways. So he finds himself at number 10 on our list.
Next up at number 9, we have someone who's not normally associated with New Japan, but in my opinion, has had a better run there than she has had in AEW, and that's Mercedes Moné. I think that this is really a two-handed pick. One, it is a compliment to Mercedes because she's gotten a lot of criticism for her work in AEW this year, but I think on a whole, her work in New Japan has been better. Her wrestling some Stardom wrestlers like Momo Watanabe, as well as some CMLL wrestlers like Stephanie McMahon. She's just really had a better run there. Better matches, better character, better crowd reception. She almost seems like a bigger star when she's in Japan than when she's wrestling for AEW. But it's also sort of a slight against New Japan, where our ninth ranked position on the 10 best New Japan wrestlers of 2024 goes to someone who's only had like 5 to 10 matches with them and isn't even a New Japan wrestler. They're an AEW wrestler. I feel like this pick, more than anything, really encompasses sort of how much New Japan has fallen off this year. But that's not to discredit the work Mercedes has done in New Japan. A lot of good matches defending the New Japan Strong Women's Championship ever since winning it from Stephanie McMahon at Forbidden Door. A lot of good matches, a lot of good aura that she brings to the Strong division. And as I said, I think she's had a better run in New Japan than in AEW. So she works her way somehow as number 9 on our list. At number 8, we're going to jump into the junior heavyweight division and talk about El Desperado, who this year had a pretty good middle of the year, but the beginning and end were lacking just a little bit. So in the middle of the year, he won the Best of the Super Juniors, main eventing Dominion against Taji Ishimori. He then went on to win the championship, and he didn't hold it for that long, only a few months. He had probably like 5 or 6 title defenses before losing it to Doki. But those matches he had in that run were very good. Also, in that time period, he hosted a pay-per-view called the Despe Invitational, which it was really a lot of fun. It was a very fun pay-per-view. I like the idea where essentially every wrestler and every match on the card was booked by El Desperado. So you were getting Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. and people from his past factions coming up against people from Noah and people from all Japan. A really fun idea for a pay-per-view. So looking at the months of probably like July to September, he would be way higher on this list. But outside of those, he just didn't really do enough of substance to raise his place on this list. And I feel like that is a result of the junior heavyweight placement in the New Japan card, where they just don't get as much shine and as much prominence as their heavyweight division does. So he hasn't had as many opportunities to shine out and succeed like other wrestlers have. So I feel like 8 is an appropriate position for him. A really good title win, a really good run in Best of the Super Juniors, a good pay per view based around him. Not a lot else of substance other than that. For our number 7 pick, we have a guy who has really come into his own in 2024. If I was making a list of just my favorite wrestlers in New Japan, or even my favorite wrestlers in the whole world, he would probably be number 1. But based upon his work this year, Gabe Kidd finds himself at the number 7 position. And he's had a really good year. He's sort of come to prominence as one of the better members of the War Dogs faction, behind David Finlay probably, and the run he's had this year. Gabe Kidd has had a really great year. He had good matches this year with Shingo Takagi, with Hanare, with Zack Sabre Jr. Pretty much anyone he faced in the G1 Climax, he had a great match with. He had a feud with Eddie Kingston that sort of transferred into AEW a little bit, not a ton, but just a little bit, mainly a New Japan feud where they had a lot of great matches and a lot of really a great feud. I can't really think of a ton of great feuds in New Japan this year. Gabe Kidd versus Eddie Kingston is one of them. They had a lot of great matches where Gabe Kidd won the strong openweight championship and has carried that through for the majority of the year. And really, the reason Gabe Kidd finds his position on this list isn't because of what he's done for titles or what he's had for matches, because he hasn't been booked as prominently as some of the other top tier stars we're going to talk about later. But every time he steps into the ring, his character work is on point. He cuts the best promos in the company. He has incredible matches that are wrestled in a uniquely Gabe Kidd style that he's able to uniquely mesh with people who you wouldn't really think would mesh with him. Like, he had a fantastic match at a strong show with Leo Rush, who is completely different from his style, but then he matches up with someone like Hanare on Road to New Beginning, and they just also have a fantastic match. So really, Gabe Kidd spreads greatness wherever he goes, and that's why he finds himself at the number 7 spot. In the number 6 position, just falling out of the top 5, we have, in my opinion, the person who has carried the junior heavyweight division this year, and that is Doki. Even though El Desperado won the Best of the Super Juniors, I feel like Doki was the standout star. He had a lot of the best matches and really got a lot of the best crowd reactions. The crowd were really behind Doki like they were no one else in that tournament. And he's carried that momentum on. He beat El Desperado for the junior title. Probably as a result of those reactions, he was able to garner in the Super Juniors tournament, and he's held it for the rest of the year. And he has had great matches every step of the way. He had an absolutely phenomenal match with Master Wato at, I can't remember exactly what pay per view, but an incredible match with him. And really, every time he faces someone, Sho, El Desperado, Hiromu Takahashi, Taji Ishimori, he has those great matches that you would want out of the junior heavyweight division. He sort of brings me back to the days of 2016, 2017, 2018, when you had those big names like Shingo and Hiromu and Osprey and Seidel and Ricochet in that division, who would give you an incredible match every time they were on pay-per-view. Doki does that now, and it's really exciting to see him come to prominence like that, because in the past, I wouldn't have rated Doki as a super worker at all. I would have thought, yeah, he's good, but he's not really great. But this year, he's really changed my mind on that. I do think Doki is a really great wrestler. And I am excited whenever he wrestles because I know he's going to give 100% of his effort in the match. So, towards the latter half of the year, he's really carried the junior heavyweight division and had a lot of great matches defending the title. So, an easy pick for a number 6 spot. Now we are on to the top 5 best New Japan wrestlers of 2024, and we are sticking to the heavyweight division for the remainder of the list. That is the division that gets the most spotlight, the most time, the best place on the card, the biggest high profile matches are all reserved for the heavyweight division. So it makes sense that the best wrestlers would shine in that division. And we're going to start out with someone who has been on top of the division for a large part of 2024, but I don't necessarily think has been doing the best work of their career or of 2024. And that's Tetsuya Naito. He won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom from Sonata and then carried it all the way up to losing it to Zack Sabre Jr. in the latter months of the year in September or October. And a lengthy title reign like that, being booked prominently on pay-per-views in the G1 Climax, would lead you to believe someone would be higher on this list than number 5. But really, in my opinion, Naito hasn't had his best year. I haven't loved a lot of his performances in singles matches. I don't know. I get this sense of almost complacency or laziness from him where he's not really trying to have great matches like he did in the late 2010s. And maybe that's just because he no longer is able to work with the caliber of opponents he had back then, or maybe that's just the way he is portraying his sort of lackadaisical character on screen. But nothing Naito has done has really clicked for me in 2024. And rather than being excited every time he comes on my TV screen, I get the wind taken out of me a little bit. Like, okay, we're having a Naito match. That means 30 or 40 minutes of not really a whole lot of good action. So he has had some good matches this year. He had a few good matches in the G1 Climax. The match that he won the title from Sonata was very good. Same with the match he lost the title to Zack Sabre Jr. A very, very good match. A great match, in fact. So he has had those spurts of greatness in him, but overall, I feel his package has severely diminished. His star power and aura has diminished from years past. But since he was booked in such a prominent position and he was given the big star package over the year, he is able to find himself at number 5. Getting into the top 4 wrestlers, we really have the elite of New Japan in 2024. And we're going to start with someone who could easily be considered the best wrestler, but just hasn't really been given the main event slots this year to prove it. And that's Shingo Takagi. He's really run in the open weight division, the never open weight or strong open weight division this year. And he's held the titles a couple times, having great matches with Jeff Cobb and Ishii, and especially great matches with people like Gabe Kidd and Hanare. And he's really shown in that style, that sort of heavy hitting, brawling style. He had a fantastic run in both the New Japan Cup and the G1 Climax. His G1 Climax this year was absolutely phenomenal. Some really standout matches with those people who I just mentioned. Also, fantastic semifinal match with Zack Sabre Jr. A really good match with Yu Yamura in there. A lot to love about Shingo. But I feel like he had a slow start at the beginning of the year where he wasn't really producing a lot of great matches. He was Shingo Takagi, so of course everyone, myself included, loved him because they know he's one of the best workers on the planet. But it was just sort of a slow start for him, and he's sort of found his momentum as we've gone through the year and started having those great Shingo matches you would expect him to have. His match against Bryan Danielson at Forbidden Door in the Owen Hart Cup tournament being one of them. But since it was a slow start, since he really hasn't won any major titles, hasn't had a ton of main event matches, he's not able to break into the higher ranks like the wrestlers we're about to talk about. So, number 4, an appropriate position for Shingo Takagi. 2024 was really the breakout year for our number 3 pick, who is Yota Tsuji. In previous years, he was sort of presented on the same level as wrestlers like Ren Narita and Shota Umino as being the three musketeers of the new generation of New Japan. But this year, he's really shown and set himself apart from everyone else on the New Japan roster pretty much. He has done a fantastic job about saying, I am the future of this company. He did that by having a fantastic feud with Yu Yu Uemura in the beginning of the year, hair versus hair match. They had a good match at Wrestle Kingdom, then went on to win the New Japan Cup, where he then challenged Tetsuya Naito for the championship in a losing effort, but a very good match. A fantastic run in the G1 Climax, the best run of the year. He had the best matches, I think, out of anyone else in the tournament. I made a video about this a while ago. Out of anyone else in the tournament, he had the most 4+ star matches, and just everywhere he went, greatness followed. He made it to the finals where he did end up losing to Zack Sabre Jr. in a ridiculously good match. Went on to have some more good matches up until World Tag League, where he teamed with Shingo Takagi and had a lot of good matches in there. Really nothing great in World Tag League, but that's just a World Tag League thing, not a Yota Tsuji thing. But they did have a very good match with Bishamon in there. And really, the story of Yota Tsuji in 2024 is just every opportunity he's given, he has a phenomenal match and he absolutely knocks it out of the park. He's really endeared himself to the crowd this year. He's shown himself to be one of the top stars. I think next year we're going to see a major title win for Yota Tsuji. I wouldn't be surprised if he beats David Finlay at Wrestle Kingdom for the World Championship. I don't remember the name. It's like the International Heavyweight Championship, or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. A good researcher would have looked that up beforehand, but I am not. I'm just a dude in front of a closet. I think next year will be a really big year for Yota Tsuji based upon the groundwork that he has laid this year. So, absolutely incredible stuff from him. I'm so excited to see what he does in the future. He's one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet, and I think he's going to keep producing a lot of great work for a very long time. Number 3. And coming in at number 2 is our global heavyweight champion. I looked that up. David Finlay. I feel like Finlay has had an absolutely incredible run this year. And often I see him get a lot of criticism for his working style, but I could really not disagree more with the criticism thrown David Finlay's way. I think he's such an incredible worker, and he is a guy who really does a great job about marrying up the concepts of I'm a heel, so I need to do offense that sort of slows the match down so that the babyface can pick it up again. But also, I don't want to slow the match down so much that it becomes boring and unwatchable and we lose the crowd. So he finds the perfect middle ground for that, where when he is on top and when he is dominating, he is able to create an entertaining match out of that, but one that you still want to see the babyface come back and get their win. And that's such a hard thing to do in pro wrestling, and so many people fail at it. But David Finlay has done exceptional at it, and he has done so being one of the top champions in New Japan for the majority of the year. He won the championship at Wrestle Kingdom, lost it to Nick Nemeth for a few months, and then picked it back up around the midpoint of the year, and has just been going strong as the champion since. Phenomenal matches in the G1 Climax, a lot of good stuff being presented in pretty much every match he's had. At Power Struggle, he had an incredible match against Tai Chi that ended with a pretty prominent story beat that I didn't talk about earlier. I probably should have talked about it during my Sonata entry, but Sonata turning heel was a great New Japan moment of the year, and David Finlay was a prominent part of that. He was the orchestrator of that within kayfabe. And really, he has done such an effective job about being the top heel in New Japan, but also a guy who is a work rate specialist and has incredible matches everywhere he goes. So, his prominent position on the card, the faith New Japan has put in him, as well as his ability to take those balls and run with them, shoots him way, way high up this list to the number 2 spot. I don't think he's going to hold the championship that long next year. As I said, I do think Yota Tsuji will take it from him, but I don't doubt David Finlay will continue to have great matches, incredible character work wherever he goes. So I don't see his spot faltering too much on next year's list. We are now to our number one position, the best New Japan wrestler of 2024. And in that position, we find a man who has brought the New Japan TV title to prominence in 2024, won the G1 Climax, being only the second non Japanese wrestler in history to do so, went on to win the IWGP title and brought it home. Not for me because I'm American, but any English viewers. It is, of course, Zack Sabre Jr., the guy who has consistently had the best matches throughout the course of the year, and to a really high quality too. Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't really have mid matches. Zack Sabre Jr. does not have a 3-star match. Every single one of his matches is 4 stars or above because he's so incredible. And with the power vacuum that was left when Ospreay left and when Okada left, and now that Tanahashi and Naito are sort of aging out of the ace position, Zack Sabre Jr. has done such an incredible job about stepping up and filling the expectations we would have for a position like that. Not only presenting himself as a star, but also making those connections with the crowd to really carry investment in the top title programs. And he's done so by just being reliably the best wrestler in New Japan the entire time. He's the one who has the best matches. He has everyone's best match. You talk about that a lot, those wrestlers like Bret Hart and Charlotte Flair, those people who everyone has their best match with this person. That is Zack Sabre Jr. He has this unique way about bringing greatness out of everyone. And I'm hoping we're going to get a lengthy reign with him as IWGP heavyweight champion so he can just continue to do that time after time again. I'm hoping that's what we get with Shota Umino at Wrestle Kingdom this year, where he just has a blowaway match and really changes the perception of Shota for a lot of the fans. And I don't have any doubt. If it was anyone else, I would be doubtful. Even if it was Finlay or Suji or Takagi, I would be doubtful. But for Zack Sabre Jr., absolutely no doubts. He's won my trust this year like nobody else on the New Japan roster could. And he easily finds himself in the number one slot as a result. And that is the list. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Was there someone who is not featured on this list who should have been? Was there someone who was ranked too highly on this list, or someone who should have been bumped way up in your opinion? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to be releasing a video later this week where I look at the best wrestler of 2024 by taking the top wrestler from each company and putting them in a battle royale style, seeing who will come out on top. So Zack, though he'll have tough competition against Will Ospreay and Cody Rhodes thus far, I think we have confidence that he'll fare well for himself. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, leaving a comment, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. With all that being said, I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.